And we are live. What's going on, family? Happy Friday. Hope everybody had a great week. Welcome to another Founder Friday session. I see we got some people joining in from all over. We got some ATL, some Philly, some B-more, Providence, let's go, VA. We got some awesome people all over. And so definitely a pleasure to have y'all today. In case you may not know, this may be your first Founder Fridays. You are in for a treat today. If this is your first one, you're in for a treat. If you've been here before, you already know you're in for a treat because you know what to expect. Every week, every month, we have some awesome gems, some awesome sessions, all to provide knowledge, all to provide network, all to provide capital, whether you're a business owner, whether you got a business idea, whatever it may be, you just want to leverage some of your business acumen. We have some awesome sessions. So today, we have, of course, business is business, building strategic partnerships with the man, the myth, the legend, Tremain Davis himself. So we'll give him a quick intro in a bit. But just to give you guys a bit of an overview for Founder Fridays, today we're talking about partnerships, building strategic partnerships. So even to segue into that, we have a partnership with Tremain and Think PGC so that we can have more Founder Friday sessions. They used to be just monthly. Now we're working together to have weekly sessions. And so that's already the essence of partnership right there, to be able to provide additional experiences, additional knowledge, additional feedback, and just building that network, whether you're an entrepreneur or you are an aspiring entrepreneur. So excited for the session today. Jewel just dropped in the chat our session for next week, actually. It'll be with Amber Smith. It's called Law and Order. So there, you'll be getting some good feedback on contracts for your business, IP, trademarks, and so forth. And the whole essence of this is because a lot of times, even in our community, these are topics that we don't discuss. They're not always as easily accessible, or somebody's charging you this crazy amount for a workshop. We have free workshops there every Friday. Please don't miss these. People are taking their time out. Great, CEOs, great angel investors, business owners, all types of amazing people here to give you guys feedback. Amber's a lawyer, so she's coming to bring some awesome legal advice for you and maybe establishing your LLC or to make sure you're going through things the right way, just so your business doesn't go through a crazy spiral. And so likewise, our session today, Tremain has some awesome gems on partnership. As you know, partnership is often a make or break. If you partner with the wrong people, it can cause your business to spiral. If you partner with the right people, it can cause your business and your brand to elevate in a way that you've never seen it before. And we know firsthand in our communities, you probably have seen somebody approach you like, man, I got this great business idea. And you really just have to know how to read the situation. Like, is this a red flag? Is this person, are they actually going to be on board for this? Or you have to look out for the green flags too and know, okay, like I can trust this person's expertise, their experience, their work ethic. And so likewise, Tremain will dive into some of those topics on, just how to read those situations and how to take your brand to the next level. Aside from that, though, we do have our Founder Fridays weekly. So be sure to join us. We'll drop our IG pages below and our different social media networks because we'll be posting those flyers and how to register each week. But aside from that, we'll also be having what we call rocket pitches. Tremain was the idea, the brilliance behind that. And so as far as rocket pitches, what you'll also have the opportunity to do is at the end of the month, you'll be able to join in a room similar to this, but also pitch your business for various amounts of funding. And so definitely be sure to tune in, keep an eye out for those. We'll be sure to give you guys the Zoom links for those so that you can join in. And so you'll be able to win a variety of amounts of money from $500 to your business to maybe 1,000 plus. And so very excited for rocket pitches. That'll be working alongside Founder Fridays as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. I want to introduce the man, the myth, the legend. I'm going to let him tell a bit more of his background, but I just want to speak from a personal experience. I met Tremain, and it was like it was supposed to be. The energy that he had, I was inspired through it. The work that he was doing through Black Girl Ventures and how he invited me to speak to the cohort, I was inspired by that. I know I see a lot of y'all on today supporting, representing, and so a lot of love for that, a lot of love. But it was awesome just connecting with Tremain and just seeing what he's doing in the community. You come across a lot of people and often they're looking for, they have sometimes an ulterior motive of what they're doing in the community, but I can see firsthand what he's doing is straight out of love and just wanting to see young Black and brown entrepreneurs, continue to be successful, continue to have the resources that we all truly need, whether it's just mentorship, whether it's capital, regardless of what it may be. Tremain is out there on the forefronts. He's a serial entrepreneur. He got a new business idea for me every week. I lie to you not. Tremain, like, let's do this, let's do that. And I'm like, let's go, let's do it. He just has all of these amazing ideas, but it's not like he sits on them. And that's the amazing thing too. He enacts on them. He's like, cool, let's do this. But now this is how we'll take the route to get him toward this and getting people on board and creating this space to help people gravitate toward it. And so I'm sure you meet a lot of people with great business ideas, but then they sit on it or they wait for you to enact on it. But Tremain he is probably one of the most proactive people I've met in terms of really making sure that, Black and brown entrepreneurs have a platform to do their thing. And so without further ado, I'm gonna pass it over to you, my brother, the man, the myth, the legend. Tell them about all the awesome things you're doing at Howard,
Yeah.
Think PGC and BGV and everything else you did. So I'm gonna pass.
Yeah.
Let's
No
go.
doubt, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you, Keontae. Yeah, we really hit it off from the day one. Yeah, when we first got connected,
Yep.
it was already like, yo, we're gonna do something. We're gonna definitely do something. And I appreciate everybody that's hopping on from the BGV network from my BGV days, man. Daryl showing love. Yep, Aaliyah Clint, she was in that. And Rachel, yeah, there's a couple others, man. Huge shout out, man. This is gonna be epic. Like Founder Fridays is gonna be epic. So, like, for real, tell a friend. Like, tell a friend. They really for real life gonna miss out if they don't get involved with Founder Fridays from here on out. And so Keontae mentioned it. Like, it's all about introducing you all to knowledge, to network, and to capital. Access to those things is something that we have been historically left out of, and it is my dying wish to my grave to make sure that I break those barriers down for the next generation of innovators, thinkers, dreamers, entrepreneurs, business owners that look like me and look like you. And the reason that this is so important to me, and some people might know my story, especially some people that know me from BGV, is that I was a founder at 19 years old. I started my first tech company at 19 years old in college. And like that was 23 years ago. So I've started multiple businesses, 4 businesses since then. I'm working on my 4th startup now, my 4th tech startup. And we actually just finished raising our Series A. So, we growing like gangbusters there. But I've invested in a handful of other businesses, but the last 23 years have been like tough for me to build from the ground up. And like I didn't have anybody to do these kind of things. There were no Founder Fridays when I got started 23 years ago. So I want to make sure that I can open these doors up and put people in rooms that they're not in. Like now that I have access, I want to give access. And I think that that's how you pay it forward. Because I'm telling you, man, just being in the right room sometimes can take you completely to the next level. Way to the next level. So when we started, just real quick, everybody that knows me knows I got a million stories. So if it's too many stories, y'all tell me. Some people laughing because they already know, like, oh man, this dude, I got stories for days. But anyway, like when we started our tech company that I got right now, so we started it 2 years ago. And so like it's 2 co-founders, and then like 6 months after they start building the tech, they brought me on. So I'm like kind of like guy number 3 type of things. I'm 3rd on the cap table. And so it's a major ed tech platform now. We're in 6 states now, going into 7 because we just opened up Texas. So we just got our first clients in Dallas. We're in 7 states, and we've got 25,000 students on our platform right now. And like I said, we just finished our Series A. But in the company, there wasn't a lot of representation. And so like, now as we're starting to grow, we got 30 employees now and growing, that is something that we have to have a really strategic focus on, is that because I'm, in leadership in the company, I can open up doors and open up opportunities for people that look like us. And so I'm saying all that to say, as an example, man, it's this dude I know. He's a really good friend of mine, and he's like top rung, when it comes to professional expertise. He's like right up under the CEO for United Way. So he's like really, 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 really high up there. And so he sits on our board. And I called him and I was like, yo, I got a really interesting opportunity. It's in ed tech. You spent 25 years in education. Like, I think this would be a really good board for you to sit on. And he understood the opportunity and he got on. And so like that, and that was like 2 years ago. And because I have access, I was able to give him access. He sits on our board, but not a lot of Black people are in the high growth space. Like, we don't get in the space of building high growth tech companies and selling them at $1 billion. Like, that's still like Mark Zuckerberg thing. You know what I mean? And so, to be able to give him that access for something that we're going to sell in 4 years at $1 billion, at least that's what our exit strategy is. We're selling in 4 years at $1 billion. Like, that to me is what access is all about, because now I have access. I'm able to give somebody else that has the expertise that same access. And so like when we think about Keontae and Jewel and this whole Founders Friday thing, it's all about how can we put you all in rooms that would take you 20 years, 30 years to get into. And that's where I feel like this is going to be really important to y'all. Now, we're going to do some rocket pitches. We're going to put some money in y'all's pocket. We're trying to put some money on the ground. I got some great sponsors coming through my nonprofit that I run now. I'll go into that in a second. Who are going to be sponsoring the rocket pitches. We want to do them every month. So we got one at the end of this month, one in October planned, and then shout out to Pitch Perfect that's coming in November. We want to do something there as well. And then we want to round the year out and do a big holiday blast rocket pitch for in December before Christmas. So so we want to make sure that we give you guys access to capital, put some money in your pockets, you can pitch your businesses, all that good stuff. But I'm telling you, the access and the network, that's where this Founders Friday is going to be dope, because you're going to be able to connect with other people who are doing stuff just like you, moving in the same direction as you. And sometimes, I talk about this all the time, man. The mental health part of being an entrepreneur is something that a lot of people don't talk about, but it gets lonely sometimes trying to build from the ground up when everybody around you is telling you you're crazy, telling you that this idea, why are you going after a business? Just go to school, get your degree, get a good job. Nothing wrong with that, but a lot of times when you're chasing things that others aren't, that most others aren't, it puts you on the island by yourself. So this kind of, network and this kind of crew coming together every Friday, and it's going to grow because y'all going to tell 2 people about it after this. Is not just good for there go Quincy. What's up, Quincy? I see him in the chat. It's not just good, like I said, for the access to capital, but just to be around other people who doing the stuff that you are doing, is building something like you are, and all of us can lean on one another, for support, lean on one another when we have questions or even expertise that we can trade throughout the network. Somebody on here needs a website. Somebody on here is dope at building a website. Like, that's what this is all about. And then the knowledge piece of it, we're going to bring in the people from the BGV days. Know that I don't mind calling all my CEO friends and say, yo, you got to come talk to my students. Like, it is what it is. I'll make the call. Everybody knows. So we're going to have a lot of CEOs and executives come on and really, really, really pour knowledge and expertise and put it on the table. You guys can ask questions to people who are doing it at a really, really, really high level. Next week we got a bang up Founder Friday set up for you all, because I know you all have legal questions, and she's going to be able to answer all of them. On the 27th, when we do the rocket pitch, some people may know, but Founding Farmers, a really big restaurant chain in this area, owned by a guy named Dan Simons, really good friend of mine. He's going to come talk. And he's the sponsor of the rocket pitch that day. So he's giving us the paper that we're going to give away at the end of the month. So he's going to come speak. So like, this is what we got set up for y'all. Founders Friday is going to be dope. Just wanted to lay that groundwork because Keontae threw me the alley-oop. So I was just trying to catch the alley-oop and put the jelly on it like Kyrie, put that Kyrie
Yes,
jelly on
sir.
it.
Yes, sir.
I can drop it home. So, all right. So we're going to talk about strategic partnerships today. And I got a document. We're going to email it to everybody. It's just called 5 Ways to Build Strategic Partnerships. That's a 1-pager I put together, and I'm going to make sure I get that out to y'all. Big money. Love that. That's a 1-page. I'm going to get that out to y'all. We're going to get that out to y'all after the session, just so you can have a takeaway, something that you can put at the top of your browser if you ever want to refer back to it, man. But these are all principles that you can take with you for the rest of your entrepreneurial career. So of course you guys are doing cool stuff now, but if 5 years from now when you're working on your second or your third startup, you're thinking about, oh man, what was that thing we were talking about strategic partnerships? This is where these kind of resources become really, really, really cool. So we're gonna send that out to you after this session. All right, so strategic partnerships. This is gonna get real good. I'm excited about strategic partnership because strategic partnerships is how I have leveraged my career to go to the next level. I mean, because when you think strategic partnerships, you think about being in places where you're not. So somebody has your name or has your profile in a room where you are not. They have access that you don't. You can get in places where you currently are not located because you have a strategic partnership. And so like that's the power of what a strategic partnership can bring to the table, not just for your business, but just overall in life. Like, and so like that's where you want to really be I don't know, just focused on it or thinking about how you can get into strategic partnerships because it's an amplifier for what you can bring to the table and what you can accomplish. So right now in my edtech business, we have to go into multiple communities around the country. Like I said, we're in 7 states now, and we're edtech, so we own all of the technology. We've got some patents, we own the IP, we got some AI chatbots that we built out. I mean, we got a really cool platform. But to deploy that, at scale in multiple communities around the country, as a tech firm, guess what that's going to take? Strategic partners on the ground, because there's no way that we can go into a community where we don't understand the needs of that community. We don't understand the people in that community. We don't understand what's happening in that community and try to sell our product. It just doesn't happen that way. So the first thing we have to do when we're going into any market is identify the strategic partners that we're going to work with in order to get our products on the ground in that community. So that could be a community college. It could be a school district. It could be a local government office, a workforce development agency, whatever it is. We work with all of them. But our thought process around deploying technology is that we have to do it through strategic partnerships. So that's how important strategic partnerships can be. It can be like a centerpiece for your whole go-to-market strategy. So don't look past strategic partnerships, because at the end of the day, you can't get it done on your own. I mean, at a certain point, you got to think about how you're going to bring somebody else into this mission, into this vision that you're trying to, implement or take to market or get people to rally around. I don't know if anybody's heard of the term stakeholders. If you heard of the term stakeholders, put it in the chat. Yes. Anybody heard of the term stakeholders? There we go. Yep. We got some people coming in with all right. So yes. So stakeholders, what those are people who have a vested interest in different places that you may or may not want to go. So for us, when we go into different communities around the country, we have to identify the stakeholders. We find a strategic partner that we want to work with, and then who are the other stakeholders in this community that bring value to what we're trying to bring to the table. So these are the things that I want you to start thinking about when it comes to strategic partnerships. Now apply that to your business, all right? Or whatever you're doing. What strategic partners would be a great amplifier for your business? And you got to make sure that it is something that goes with what you're doing. So maybe you needed a strategic partnership around marketing. That's always a good strategic partner, because if anybody in here knows or understands the marketing bucket for a business, it has no bottom. It's bottomless. The marketing budget, it has no end. Like you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars in marketing and ads, and sometimes it's difficult to quantify these returns on investment. So we had to do a whole nother show on marketing and how you put those KPIs together and start, really, dialing in on marketing. But sometimes marketing, man, can really be a resource suck, for your business. But sometimes if you say, hey, we'll solve that problem with strategic partnerships, it can really, 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 mitigate the cost that you're going to have to spend to try to get into a market on your own. So if you say, hey, there's somebody already over here making noise, kicking up dust, doing their thing in this space over here, and it's a space I want to get into, maybe instead of marketing to that whole space and trying to get into that market, maybe it's better to just partner or do a strategic partnership with somebody who's already doing good work in that space. And so I'm just using marketing as an example of how strategic partnerships can be something that can potentially be valuable for you and your businesses. So, think about your business, think about what's necessary for your business, what's lacking in your business. It may not be marketed, maybe it's something else. But how can strategic partnerships potentially be something that helps you to get to the next level? All right, so we're going to go over a couple of things that you need to be thinking about when you think about strategic partnerships, because we talked about it at a high level up to this point, but everybody who knows me knows we need some actionable stuff to do tomorrow. What can you do tomorrow to start thinking about strategic partnerships? And to be quite frank, some people might have some potential strategic partnerships on the line, and this conversation might help them to think through what that looks like. Like I said, tomorrow, next week, you got some meetings coming up. I want you guys to take this stuff into your business right away. All right, so very first thing, somebody put in the chat today, we're taking notes. I want y'all to write this down if you got your notepad or your notes app out with your iPad or whatever it is. All right, first thing you need to consider when, I love it, Ju. First thing you need to consider when you're thinking about strategic partnerships is, does your mission align? Does your mission align? All right. You do not want to align yourself or do a strategic partnership with anybody who is not aligned with you from a vision, mission, or purpose standpoint. If you don't have alignment on those types of things, I call that the internal why for a business. If you don't have any kind of alignment from an internal why standpoint, meaning the things that are important to you and your business, something that taps into why you're doing what you're doing. If you don't have alignment there, I'm telling you now, run. Don't walk away from the partnership. Run away from the partnership. It is not a good partnership for you. All right. You have to first have some sort of alignment when it comes to your, like I said, your mission, your vision, your purpose, just something. And I'll use those terms interchangeably, even though, for the sake of this conversation, even though they're distinctly different things. But when I say that, I just mean something that draws back to why you're doing what you're doing. You have to be able to align on those things first. Oh, and here's a helpful hint. Money is not a point of alignment because if only thing you got in common with your potential strategic partner is that both of y'all are trying to get the bag, is not going to work out too well. You know what I mean? Because how you get that bag, why you get that bag, how much of that bag belongs to you and belongs to me, like those are all things that come into question if the only thing you sync up on is the bag itself. All right. So, you want to think through it in terms of, all right, are we aligned with this company that we're trying to partner with? I'll give you a quick, for instance, if you are a vegan food restaurant, all right, and there is a pork producer that's coming into your community. They have a really bad rap for how they're treating their animals and growing their pork. And they say, listen, to clean up our image, we're going to partner with a vegan food company so that we can clean our image up in this community. And they come to you and they say, listen, I got $1 million for you so we can do a partnership, to image, a brand alignment partnership. Now, you all tell me, just based on what I said, is that a good partnership? Put it in the chat, yes or no. All right, we got to know. Not at all. Okay. Anybody second guessing that meal? Anybody second guessing that meal that they offered? That duffel bag that they put on the table? Yeah, the answer is no. And the reason is because, we are a vegan food restaurant. Our mission to, I don't know, whatever it is, allow people to eat more healthy and more earth-grown food. That does not align with somebody that makes pork chops and bacon and all of the stuff. There is no alignment there. So even if, you can get money from that, the reputational damage that you'll do, by accepting that, but not staying true to the why, to the mission, to the thing that is important to you, the why for you starting that vegan food company, it will damage your reputation to a point where, your clients, people, it will just have so much that people may not trust you. They may not want to come to your restaurant. Now they're wondering, are you slipping bacon into the vegan, potatoes? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's just so much that can happen because you connected with somebody around the bag, but not necessarily around the missions. All right. So the very first thing is make sure your mission aligns. All right. Second thing you want to do is, and this is probably the most important part, because the mission part of it, I think, is pretty easy. Because, if you're going into a potential strategic partnership, you can go straight to the website real quick and you can say, listen, I see on the website, most people have their mission or vision or something on the website. And you can see right away whether a company is you need to rock with them or not. So that one is quote unquote pretty easy. The next one is probably the most important one. The next thing is there mutual benefit? Reciprocity. Is there mutual benefit? All right. So strategic partnerships have to have mutual benefit. It is not, remember this, it is not about you. The strategic partnership is not about you. It's a partnership. It's about both of you. It has to be mutually beneficial for both parties at the table. You don't know how many strategic partnerships I have been proposed where it's kind of like, yeah, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this, we can do that. And after I look at the list of things that we're going to do together, all of them seem like they helping them. And not many of these bullet points seem like that they help me out that much. You know what I mean? But I got to bring just as much to the partnership. I got to bring just as much money to the partnership. I got to do all of these different, yes, a win-win situation. That is exactly right. Mutual benefit is probably the cornerstone of any strategic partnership because, if you're talking to somebody about an idea, about a potential partnership, the very first thing they're thinking in the back of their mind, even if they don't say it out loud on the first call, is with them. What's in it for me? I don't know if y'all heard that acronym before, but it's from the old school. With them. What's in it for me? Like people are trying to understand what's in it for me. And they, like I said, they may not say it at first. They may not say it, on that first call, maybe not even that second call, but by that third call, they're trying to figure out, wait a minute, wait 1 minute here. We've done a lot of talking about what we're going to do for you. What are we going to do for me? And like people, that's human nature. You wouldn't even, forget business. Would you get into any relationship, be it romantic, be it business, be it any kind of relationship, if you felt like that you were given and the only thing that was happening on the other side was taken? And like that's what mutual benefit means, reciprocity means. So if you're coming to the table with a potential strategic partnership, think about that first. Like don't even go into a meeting talking about a strategic partnership if you haven't already thought through what this could look like on the other end. And so anytime I'm talking about a strategic partnership, most of the time in the first couple of conversations, I'm not even talking about myself. What I'm talking about is how this can be beneficial for the people that I want to partner with. What's the value proposition for the other side of the table? And if you can clearly articulate that, I'm talking about the outset, first 1 or 2 conversations, it makes the rest of the conversations that much more easier to navigate, And a lot of times, if you, especially the larger the companies that you're dealing with, whoever you're talking to on the first couple of conversations, they're not going to make the decision by themselves, which means that they have to talk to their team. They have to talk to maybe a superior, somebody that's over top of them, or something to get the strategic partnership underway. So what does that mean? That means that they have to now have a conversation about you and about your idea without you being there. And do you want them to be saying, all right, we've got a potential strategic partnership on the table we want to talk about, it's their Monday meeting, we got a potential partnership. We wanted to kick it around the room, for 5 or 10 minutes just to see if it's something we should do. And the only thing they're kicking around the room is all the stuff you told them about how it's going to be beneficial for you. You see what I'm saying? And so as they're talking to their superiors, as they're talking to the people that they value and their team is going to help them make that decision, you want them talking about how it's going to benefit them, and everything. Then as you come back and you continue, how it's going to benefit you, or you wouldn't have came up with the idea in the first place. So, you really don't have to go that heavily into that piece of it, because you wouldn't even be there. You wouldn't even have made the call and suggested it if it didn't benefit you. So spend your time figuring out how it's going to be beneficial for the other side of the table. All right. So is there mutual benefit? The next thing you want to think about, the third thing, is focus on building the relationship piece of it. All right. Focus on building the relationship piece of it. So after you really kind of identified that there is a mutual benefit here, and that everybody is kind of aligned on mission, and that this is something we want to consider doing. After that, you want to focus on building the relationship piece of it. So I use the words partnership, that's what we're talking about today, and I use the word relationship interchangeably, because you can't have a partnership without having a relationship. All right. So if you think about a relationship, and the easiest way, and not to get all, Dr. Love on us in here, but the easiest way to think about relationship is to just think about a romantic relationship. Everybody had a boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, something on the line at some point throughout their lives. And just think about it in terms of, I didn't go into this relationship thinking that I'm leaving next week. I'm married. Keontae is married. Like if we go into, I didn't say, hey, I do for a week, I do till next month, like I do maybe. Like you can't, you don't even want to go into the strategic partnership with that attitude. So you go into the strategic partnership thinking that this is a relationship that we're going to have to build over time. So what does that mean? You have to be thinking long term, okay? And again, taking it back to, the more romantic relationship, if I think about the vows I said, oh my God, 15 years ago now, they said, till death do us part. They be saying stuff like that in the vows. It'd be like real long term, only way to get out of here is through death type of stuff. So like that's kind of built into the vows. Like we talking about, this is a forever kind of play kind of here. It don't always last forever, but at the aisle, when you first get there, you're thinking about it in terms of, all right, we're going to be here a while. And so as you're thinking about a strategic partnership, you want to think about it in terms of, we're going to be here a while, let's build the relationship piece of it out. You know what I mean? And like, I got a couple of emojis. I'm telling you, man, those vows are tricky, man. Those vows are tricky. Nah, I appreciate it. My wife is not here listening, so I'm not going to get in trouble. If she was, I would not have given that example. Trust me. And me and Keontae and Jude said we was gonna do a dinner. So Jude, don't say nothing. So this is we gonna keep keeping this. We keeping this right. Founder Fridays. What happens on Founder Fridays stays on Founder Fridays. Man.
You might see the recording now.
That's what I'm saying. We got to put another ground rule in. Like what happens on Founder Fridays stays on Founder Fridays. But yeah, so that's the third thing. Be thinking about how to build the relationship. All right. Strategic partnerships are going to be long-term plays. It's going to take time for anybody to extract value out of that relationship. Anybody who extracts value from the relationship early and the other party is not able to extract value, there's going to be some problems in that relationship. There has to be reciprocity. We have to be thinking about, even if I get value early on, my attitude is like, oh, no. This is a relationship we're building. We're working on how we're going to make sure you get some value out of this relationship too. And so that's what you need to be thinking about. All right. So that's number 3, focus on building a relationship. All right. Number four, and this is going pretty good. I think, we're at 5:40. Okay. All right. Number 4, put trust at the center of the relationship. Put trust at the center of the relationship. What do I mean by put trust at the center? What I mean by that is that most of the time, people are buying into you just as much as they're buying into the idea you're trying to present or connect on. All right. People are buying into you just as much as they're buying into the idea you want to connect with them on. So that means that there's some level of trust that they're going to have for you and the words that you're saying out of your mouth at the time that you're saying, that, I mean, because there is no track record of us being successful as strategic partners. So that means that right there at the moment that we're signing our partnership agreement, I have to trust the words that you're saying out of your mouth, that you're not trying to hamstring me and stab me in the back next week. And that this is going to take a level of trust that both parties are going to have to bring to the table in the beginning in order to make it happen. So you want to be considerate of that as you're going into the strategic partnership, and make sure you put that trust at the center. So how do you do that? How do you put that? What does that mean practically? That means returning emails and calls on time. You know what I mean? That means showing up to meetings and conferences. That means, keeping your word, even if it's not going so well. Keeping your word. Like, those are the things that show the other side that you really value the trust that you're trying to build in the relationship. And everybody knows relationships are built on trust. So like these two going together, number 3 and number 4. So as you put trust at the center, just think about it in terms of, I have to make sure that I build on the trust that this person saw something in me. They valued the words that I was saying. They valued the relationship that I was looking to build. And I need to build off of that by, like I said, answering their emails, answering their calls, even if you're not available, hitting them with a text, I'm gonna hit you back in an hour, my day is pretty packed. Let's set something up for tomorrow morning, being responsive to them, because again, they are really, really, really keying in on you just as much as they are as the idea. So even if the idea is awesome and they believe you in the beginning and they sign a partnership agreement, but then you ghost them for 2 weeks, you know what I'm saying? That is not putting trust at the center, even if the idea is amazing. So that's what I mean by they're buying into you just as much as they're buying in to the idea. So I want to give a quick example here, because it's something that I mentioned, and I hope you all I glazed over it, so I'm going to highlight it, but I hope you all caught it. I said, keep your word, even if things aren't going well. And I don't know about y'all, how long you all have been in your respective businesses, but I've been doing this a day or two. This is my 23rd. I've been an entrepreneur my whole adult life. So I started my first tech company at 19, and I literally haven't looked back. I think I had like one real job where I worked in the government. So after 2008, so I started my second company in Atlanta, which was an investment consulting company. Got a little tongue tied there. And we did investment consulting in Atlanta for 3 years, from 2005 to 2008. That business, ultimately, we shut it down because 2008 market crash happened. And I know some of y'all are probably young when that happened, but like 2008 market crash, housing crash was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. And a lot of the investments that we were doing were tied to real estate, so, we saw the signs coming. We had a really good 3-year run, and we really just, me and my partner just kind of dapped up and, all right, that's cool. Let's just get out while we can. We had a good run. We made some paper. Let's go. So I was in Atlanta. So I'm from DC. I came back to Washington, DC. So I got a couple dollars in my pocket. That was my second business. So I'm like, kind of twiddling my thumbs, and I got an opportunity to do some coordinating work in DC government. And so that was kind of like my real job on my resume, is that I worked in DC government doing coordinating work. And guess what? Doing training and strategic partnerships. Didn't even think about that. That kind of brings it full circle. So I actually did the stuff that I'm telling y'all. I actually did it in the real world for actual real organization, not just my own companies. So I did this for DC government as well. So that's a government organization that can stamp the stuff that I'm saying. So I got that. I should have put that on the front end. I just thought about it. But yeah, I did that work in DC government for 5 years-ish before I started my third company, which was a strategy consulting company in 2011. So I say all that to say that when you are hold on. Oh, okay. Lost my train of thought there. When you are putting these partnerships in place and you're building trust, you have to be able to keep your word. And so I brought that whole thing up because when I was doing my business in Atlanta, there were a couple of times when things were not. We had partnerships all over the city, and I mean, sometimes it just didn't go well. And I mean, and some of it was on me because I was young. So I'm 20, I don't know, 22, 23 at the time, making more money I'd ever seen in my whole life. Didn't didn't have no financial literacy, so I spent it just as fast as I made it. So that's a whole nother session we need to have, Keontae, about financial literacy, because that's another lesson I had to learn over the years on my own, because I didn't have anybody to tell me, hey, save some of that money, put it away in a stock market. You know, I didn't have nobody to tell me that. I just think about some of the money. If I'd have just bought 5 shares of Tesla stock, like back then, like, come on. So, but nobody told me this stuff. But anyway, to get back to this, I told y'all I got stories, but anyway, to get back to the topic, you know, there were plenty of times where I would have something that has gone horribly wrong, and the partner that we were dealing with on the particular deal was not going to like the news that I had to tell them. But I just had to go in and just say, hey, man, you know, this is what's going on. These are the reasons why it's going on. And on top of that, these are some of the things we've thought about to kind of help us to get back on track. So when I was delivering that bad news, I had already thought through not just the bad news itself, but I already started thinking through some potential solutions when I was delivering that bad news. So that's another little nugget that you guys can pick up. If you got to ever deliver bad news to a strategic partner, don't just deliver the bad news. Before you deliver that bad news, think about a solution too. So at least you come into the table with bad news and a solution. It might not even be a great solution, but just them knowing that you thought through how we can potentially, that helps with that strategic partnership. And so I've gone through so many of these type of situations where I've had to deliver bad news, and I'll get to the end of the road where, you know, the relationship would dissolve for whatever reason. We weren't necessarily successful together, but they'll say, you know, hey, man, listen, we didn't really make any money together. We actually lost money, but I will say one thing, man, you do keep your word. And like that opens you up to be able to work with them in the future on other ideas, on other things. So when I say keep your word, even if things aren't going well, what I mean by that is don't shy away from bad news. You have to be a CEO who can deliver good news and bad news at the same time. You have to be able to roll with the punches, whether it's going great or whether it's not going so great. And anybody that's been an entrepreneur for a while knows that there are times, sometimes extended period of times, where it's not going so great. And you have to be able to still stick with it, and you have to be able to still, deliver. You got to deliver, whether it's going great or whether it isn't. And so from a strategic partnership standpoint, you want to be able to let your partners know what's going on and let them know how you're planning to fix whatever has broken down in the relationship. All right, last thing, very last thing. I appreciate y'all's time. I think we're doing good. I'm gonna throw this last one in here, and then there may be some questions we can get to. The very last thing is, please value people's time. Please value people's time. Time is the most, not money, time is the most important resource on the planet. And so if you're going into a strategic partnership, trust me, people do not have time to mess around with stuff that is not going to add value to them or to their business. And so when you're going into any sort of relationship talks, put that at the forefront. Like, how can I be more streamlined in my communications? How can I, have a plan for every meeting, or have a plan for every call, have agendas that you can bring to the table. This is what we want to accomplish with this 30 minutes that we're going to be talking with one another. Like, it's okay to talk about, lunch, and we went to the beach last week, but if the first 10 or 15 minutes of the call is talking about, what we did at the Beyonce concert, like, that is not a good use of your time, and definitely not a good use of your strategic partner's time. And that's what you want to be mindful of. So please be mindful and value people's time, because that is something that many people drop the ball on. They come to these meetings, and this is what a strategic partner, they'll come to these meetings with no agenda. They'll come to these meetings with, the emails are long and wordy, and, those are the things that drive a strategic partner crazy. And what'll happen is they'll say, do I really want to do a long-term relationship with these people? I mean, good gracious, we got a 12-month contract, but there's an option in there for 6. Let's take the 6, because this person here don't know how to, X, Y, Z. It's all because, you're wasting a lot of time in the relationship. And you don't want to do that because time is valuable to a business. Okay, so that's the last thing, value people's time. All right, those are the 5 things to building strong strategic partnerships. Again, we got a 1-page document we're going to send out to everybody that kind of outlines everything that we talked about. Stick it on your refrigerator, put it on your screensaver. It's good information, a great resource for you to come back to anytime you're going through the process of thinking through a strategic partnership for your business or for your company. All right, Keontae, questions? Do we have any? Oh, y'all throw them in the chat too.
I got it. I'll start with our first question. Thank you,
Oh, good. I'm
Tremaine.
sorry, Stu.
He
We
said, "I'm
love
gonna wrap it up."
well, we love the 5 points. Our first question came up when you were bringing up mutual benefits. What
Gotcha.
if you do not have much to offer because you are starting out?
All right, we're going to take that question and we're going to reverse it. What if somebody came to you with a partnership and they didn't have much to bring? Would you do that partnership?
If it makes
Let's
sense.
switch it around. So if you don't have much to bring to a strategic partnership, it's not a strategic partnership. Remember, mutual benefit means that the other person on the other side of the table has to get something out of the relationship. So maybe you need to reframe what that relationship looks like. So maybe it's not a strategic partnership. Maybe this is more of a mentorship, or maybe this is more of, something where the other side understands that, okay, I'm just starting out. I don't have much to bring to the table, but I do value your time, your expertise, and your insight, and I would love to be in your space. And so, like that, you can just consider it maybe not a strategic partnership, but maybe reframe the conversation around something that is a little bit more conducive to your situation.
Thank you for that. And don't undermine what you bring. I agree.
Yes.
Another question, I think my question comes with the mission alignment and valuing people's time. Um, I guess when it comes to strategic partnerships, when is the time frame where you're like, okay, this isn't going to work? Like, is it like an event, like an amount of times, or is it a time frame, or is it you get to the goal and then you end the partnership? Just thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great point, and this is probably a point number 6. You need to have the end in mind when you're starting a strategic partnership. So when I'm going out for VC funds and everything, you have to. A venture capitalist is not going to invest in your business unless you can tell them in detail what your exit strategy is. And so, and when I say that, that means that I've thought through what the next 5 years, 6 years looks like. And even if it doesn't quite go the way I mapped it out, at least I've thought about it. And so if I'm going into a VC relationship, and again, we just finished raising our Series A, I've probably talked to over the last 8 months, like 200 VCs. And that's one question that they all ask, how, if we give you money, how are we getting out? You know what I mean? And so you have to have thought about that. So same thing for strategic partnerships. What does this look like? What's the ending of this? You don't want strategic partnerships, especially if they're strategic, to end on its own momentum. That's not a great way to end it. That's like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is where we want to go together. And these are the mile markers that we want to get to, so there's more execution. We could probably do a whole nother call just on how to execute a strategic partnership. But yes, from the beginning, I would have an end in mind as you get started.
Thank you. Sean has I'm sorry, has their hand raised.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sorry I wasn't more involved earlier. I was getting my haircut with the kiddo, but thanks for your time, Tremaine. The question I had was, how do you kind of find, how do you find, how do you source partnerships? Like first, like how do you kind of examine what would be an effective partner for your business, and then 2, how do you find those sources? Like what would be like effective ways to go about finding those partnerships that you need for your company?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question. So first and foremost, strategic partnerships have to be strategic. You don't just partner just because it's just to do it, So you want to have, when I say strategic, you want to be able to leverage the partnership in some kind of way. It's got to help your business. So I'm doing a partnership with this company over here in a space that I want to get into so that I don't have to spend so much money on marketing to get into that space. So that's a good strategic partnership to save me marketing dollars and to save me time with enter into that market. And so there has to be a strategic purpose. So that means that you have to be able to examine your own business. There are tons of tools out here. I mean, you can go back to a good old fashioned SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, that type of thing. And there's tons of methodologies out here these days to go through, and we can maybe even have a whole session on that one day, of how you can identify where the opportunities are in your business internally and externally. But you have to first identify that. Then you'll know which strategic partners are good strategic partners. What kind of partner do you need to be looking for? The second part of what you said is exactly why we have Founders Fridays. Network. Like, you need to have, and this is where Black and brown businesses sometimes suffer, because we don't have the network to get to the places that we need to get to partner with the people we need to partner with. And so, like, things like Founder Fridays, things like, different, certain networking events. Again, if you've identified where your need is, where your mission is, and you understand the kind of partner you can start looking up conferences in that space. What conferences, and go to a conference. Conferences these days might be $99, $150, $200, but that $200 might get you directly in the face of somebody who can help you take your business to the next level. So I would say network and go to stuff like this, and tell other people to come to Founder Friday next week.
Our next
I appreciate you, Tremain.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Next question from Sharifa. What advice would you have in the area of how roles and responsibilities are defined?
Yes. Again, that's more execution in the strategic partnerships. I think we might need to do a part due to this one, because we had a couple of execution, implementation sort of questions for the strategic partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a great question. Just at a high level, just at a high level, you have to be able to identify those roles, because you don't want to overlap, first and foremost, because again, that wastes time, goes back to the 5 principles. And secondly, you want to make sure that the people who are doing the different stuff have the expertise to do it. I've got a team of 30 here at my ed tech firm, and we do strategic partnerships all the time. And I have to always put a point person in charge of doing the strategic partnership, but I got to pick through my team, the people that work for us, to see who's the right person to be the POC for this particular. We got a deal we're doing, a national deal we're doing right now with HP, and I can't manage it. I got too much going on, so I had to put a PM, a project manager, on it from our team. And I had like 2 or 3 to pick from. And like, after weeding through, I was like, okay, this is the person that needs to spearhead this particular partnership, because they're going to think a certain way, they're going to do a certain thing, da. So I think it's just really identifying, where you want to get to, and what the, again, where the end is, and then from a roles and responsibility standpoint, really on both sides of the table, who are the best people on both sides to get us to where we need to go. Because if we had a different, outlook that we were trying to get to, I might have picked a different POC or a different project manager. Just kind of thinking through it, with you guys. So hopefully that answered that question. But I think to get deeper, we got to go into somebody put part 2 in the chat. I agree with you. We might got to do a part 2.
Great question.
Yep.
This is a follow-up to the first question, and then DJ, you can ask your question. Does the exit strategy include how they will get their money back?
Yes. No, let me rephrase that. Heck yes. I would say something else, but because again, and the value that we articulate in the beginning of the partnership doesn't necessarily have to be money. Most of the time it is. Value could be relationship. It could be a bunch of different stuff, but at the end of the day, whatever that value is that both parties are anticipating out of this relationship, at the end of it, everybody needs to be made whole. Because if not, somebody is going to be sitting at the table saying that this was not a good relationship that we should be in. And what that means is that now they're not going to want to do any further business with you, and they're not going to want to open up their networks to you. You don't know how many people and rooms I've been in just because somebody I've done business with years before has said, man, I need you to call this guy because he's good at X, Y, or Z. Or I did business with Tremain and blah, 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 blah. Call him. I got one quick story, then I got you, DJ. Man, I had did a deal with this was back in my Atlanta days. I did a deal with a guy in 1 year, and it didn't go well. The deal ended up falling through, but at the end of it, it's just what we were talking about. He was like, "Man, don't worry about it." He was like, "We lost a little money, but you did everything you said you were going to do." Man, fast forward like 6 years. 6 years. I'm doing a whole nother deal with this organization. I'm talking to one of the partners. And he's like, I need to talk to my partner about this to see if we're going to do it. And I'll get back to you. So the guy comes back like a week later and said, "Man, we're definitely going to do it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm thinking like, why is his energy so excited to work with me? Turns out his partner, 6 years later, is that guy that I had done business with 6 years prior that said he wasn't even doing the business that he was in. But 6 years later, because I kept my word, I built this relationship on trust, all the stuff we talking about, that paid it forward for me 6 years later on the deal that I was doing. I had even no clue about when I was first getting into the deal with them. So that's the importance of these principles. All right, DJ, go ahead. Wrap us up. 6:00.
Yes, sir. What's going on, Tremain? I feel like
Yes, sir.
I'm amongst ghosts right now. You know what I'm saying? So as a startup two-time founder, actually, I wanted to ask you, how are you able to maintain strategic partnerships when you're growing other relationships along the way? And, if life possibly could hinder the communication.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I'll take it to the next level. So I run a national nonprofit that I'm the CEO of, and then I'm a chief strategy officer for a ed tech platform that's growing like gangbusters. And I mean, we just closed a deal in India. Shout out. We got our JV over in India right now. We'll be in India at the end of October, closing a deal in India. Like, we are growing. So there are strategic partnerships that are growing on both sides of the house, and I manage these two companies. I got mad employees, like all over the place. The reason I can manage it all is because it all comes back to one particular mission or vision that I have for myself personally. So it all streams. It's like all these different tentacles that stream out of one thing. That's why I can manage all of it at the same time, because I've been really, really, really true to who I am and the things that I want to accomplish and the things that I want to work on, which is economic development, community engagement, building communities around the country. Like, there's like one specific line, I build community engagement models that drive economic development through innovation. Innovation is like entrepreneurship, business, these types of things. That's what I do. And so like, that's the core. So everything else that I do comes back to this one thing that I'm centered in. And so that's why I can manage, 30 things, 40 things, because my center is pretty clear. My center is like one thing. Now, if my center was like four things, I would probably not be able to handle it all, and I would definitely not be able to manage. But because it's all synced up around one thing, then the things that I'm doing, there's some overlap. These people can work with these people, then I can put these people together, then we can do this over here, and this connects to this. And that's all because it's all centered around one specific mission.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Founders Fridays.
Yes,
We getting
sir.
busy. I hope y'all see. Founders Fridays. Tell a friend. I'm gonna kick it over to Keontae. We about to
Yes,
get it
sir.
over here.
Yes, sir. Tremain, y'all heard it from the man, the myth, the legend, the GOAT himself. Be sure to, but feel free to come off mute, hop in the chat, show him some love, Tremain. We appreciate you. Gym
Yeah.
after gym after gym.
Woo!
Make sure y'all hop in the chat. We did provide the document in the chat, so feel free to download that. We'll send that out to y'all as well. Before you go, I'm dropping another link. All right, I got a challenge for everybody. We had a good 20 people on. That was perfect for the first day back, open to the public. These were initially only for our cohort. Now we're expanding it to the public cohort. Don't worry, y'all don't have to be on every single week, but feel free to tune in when y'all can. But here's our challenge. We had a good 20 people here. I want everybody to invite at least one person to your next session. If you're able to make it to the next session on 9/15 with Amber, it's called Law and Order. It's around it. All legal advice for your startup. Bring at least one person. Our goal is to have at least 40 people on for the next session. And so I hope that you all appreciate it today. We definitely appreciate your time, Tremain. Thank you for everybody hopping on. If you go in the Zoom link, register for the next session next week with Amber. And Founder Fridays, like Tremain said, it's on and popping. It's only up from
On and popping. We're gonna be here every week.
Join every week. Every week. Awesome topics every single week. Awesome speakers every single week. So if you enjoyed today, we just getting started. So thank you, everybody. I'm gonna let y'all go. I know you got to get to your weekend, so we appreciate everybody here today, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. Thank you.
Everybody have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Great session, Tremain.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad you joined.
Yes, I'm going to be hitting you up. I'm back in town, so you'll be
Yes.
getting an email shortly.
Yep, shoot me an email. We'll connect.
For sure. Take
All
care.
right. See y'all.
Have a good one, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Tremain.
you.
Thank
Keep
you.
being great.
Man, Ali, I'm glad you joined. Quincy, Rachel.
Yes, miss you.
My people. We'll see y'all next week. Invite a friend.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, bro.
All
See ya.
right.